this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments, and I am bringing you a project recipe today for one of our newer collections that came out back at the beginning of April, called Set Up Camp. This is perfect for those of you who are going to be doing outdoor activities and spending time in the great outdoors throughout the summer. And the layout I'm going to do today is actually going to, I think, probably be used in my daughter's girls' camp, for my daughter's girls' camp photos. So yeah, it should be really fun. It looks like a really cute layout. So let's check out my workspace and get started. All right, so jumping in here, on my desk I've got laid out a few important things that go along with our Set Up Camp collection. So these are the sticker sheets that go with it, which have really cute things like Wake Up and Smell the Campfire, or Offline is the New Luxury, which I think is really cute and very apropos. And then we've got, I put out a variety of the embellishments that come in the embellishment pack for just about any kind of getaway that you might be interested in. And there are quite a few of these cute acrylic stickers that raise up off the page, but not so much that it's going to bother your whatever's facing it on the other side. So those are cute. Anyway, we are going to use some of these as we get to the end of our layout, but for now I'm going to go ahead and set most of these aside so that we can worry about clusters after we get the rest of this put together. So let me just scoot these off my table so that I have room to work. We also have and this is called the Comfortable Camper. Comfortable Camper Punch, which came out to go along with this collection, and we're going to use that today. As you can see, it is used in this layout. However, if you were interested in creating this layout for a totally different theme, you could definitely do that. I would just make sure you get a punch that this punch actually is connected to the page. It is not a chain punch. So keep that in mind when you're trying to decide what punch to use. But it just should be something that is connected at some point to your main paper that you are punching. And then you'll be good to go with that. Okay. I have 3 sheets of designer paper that's double-sided, and I have 2 sheets of cardstock. And though the project recipe actually calls for using white cardstock, I've chosen to use the light gray cardstock. I feel like it matches my selections of paper just a little bit better. I'm going to use this one that has these little pluses on it. It's really a dark green paper, almost a gray green, and it has these little pluses on it that sort of look like stars. And then it has these stripes on the back, but we're not going to see much of those. We're just going to use this side. And I've got the wood grain paper that has this tone-on-tone kind of conglomeration of lots of different camp-themed things, banners and patches and things like that. And then we're going to use this one, which looks a little bit like a map, which I thought was kind of cool. And it's got mountains and lakes and fish and tents and campers and just everything that my daughter may encounter on girls' camp. So I thought it would be appropriate. And on the back is a little bit of a pinkish hue, which kind of matches a little bit of the hues that you see in the squirrel. So, you know, not typically a color that I would think is associated with camping necessarily, but I think it will work in this case. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and move my base sheets out of the way so we don't have to worry about those for a bit. And I'm going to grab my trimmer. We're going to switch gears and move over to our cutting guide here. Grab my trimmer from its house over here. Just going to scoot that punch out of the way just for a minute, but we are going to use it rather immediately. So I'm not going to move it away too far. And we're going to start with this paper that has kind of the map to it. And taking a look at my cutting guide as well as my my layout right here. We need to have 2 1/2-inch strips cut. They're going to be these dividers right here, and then the remainder of the paper is used by punching for these 4 sections. And so I definitely want these 4 sections to be the right direction. You'll notice we have a directional paper, so I want to make sure that these 4 sections are directional like this. Okay, so that means I need to cut these 1/2-inch pieces the same direction. And if we need to flip it over and use the other side, then we'll flip it over and use the other side. But I need to cut these first 2 pieces going the correct direction so that my last 2 pieces work properly. Okay, so we're going to cut a 1/2 inch and make a strip. We're going to cut another 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch is just the very beginning of my grid here on the right hand side. Okay, so 2 1/2-inch pieces, which we'll use later. Then I need 2 5.5-inch pieces, which I have to measure going on the other side. And you'll note that the very edge of my trimmer right here is 5.5 inches. So I'm just going to put my finger right here on the outside edge of my trimmer and make sure my paper is touching my finger, and I'm good to go with 5.5. It's going to cut this right in half, and then I am good to go with the next portion of what we're going to do. Set your trimmer aside, don't put it away. We are going to need it in just a second, but right now we're going to do some punching before we cut these other 2 papers. Okay, so we're going to grab our decorative punch. If you've never used one of Creative Memories punches before, on the very front of the punch you'll see these 2 black lines, very, very tiny little black lines. There's one on the left and one on the right. Those are for helping you align your paper properly so that you get the best punched design. So if you're going to go and move your paper in a left to right fashion, then you would line up this edge of your paper with the mark on the right hand side. If you're going to move the opposite direction and feed your paper in from right to left, then you would line up this edge with the left hand mark over here. And that's what I tend to do. I don't always go this way, but just for kicks, let's try it going the other direction and see how that works. Okay, so we're gonna punch, and I've got a little bit of a tail, so that tells me that this particular punch is going to need a little bit more lead off room, or a little bit less, I should say, in order to line up exactly with the edge. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes punches will give you just a little bit too much room. Maybe you want the design right on the edge, and because of the way the punch was made, it doesn't line up exactly. But that can be easily overcome by some adjustments, so not to worry. Okay, so now we have our design all the way across, and I can trim that off right there, so we won't have to worry about that little bit of extra. All right, now what I'm going to do is I want this side to match, and we're going to fold this side up. So I'm going to go ahead and punch this side going back the same way. And I'm going to just put my paper just shy of that mark and see if that helps overcome that extra little piece. It did. Woohoo! Okay. So you basically put your paper in, push it all the way to the back on the wing to this back bumper, and then you punch it, and then as you punch, you slide your paper through until the design that you punched matches the blue design that's printed on the wing. Sorry I didn't get through that the first time when I went across, but that is how it works. All right, so there's our second one. I'm going to set that over here. We're going to do the same thing with this paper. So I'm just going to fast forward the video, okay? All right, so something to note, when I did this first one right here, I punched the first design going from this side across, and then when I flipped it over, I came back over here and I did the same thing, and I went straight across like this. What that's going to mean is when I fold this up, the design is exactly the same, okay? When I did this one, I did it just a little bit off. Okay, so I started from this side just like before, and oops, right here, sorry. And I went straight across, and then instead of flipping it over and coming back over here and starting again and punching across, I started from this side and I went this way, so that my design will be just a little bit different when I fold it up. It's not going to be vastly different. It is going to still be fairly close to the same, but it will be just a little bit different. If you want it to be very different, then there are ways of doing that. You would just line up your paper about halfway through and start there so that your second punch is varied from your first punch. Okay, so just so that you are aware. All right, so we're gonna just move our punch away because we don't really need that anymore. I have a couple of little residual confetti pieces. I'm gonna grab my trimmer and I'm going to replace my blade with the orange one, which is my scoring blade. And we're going to score this paper to make it so that it folds really nicely, okay? And I'm going to, first of all, take a look here, and we're going to measure so that the tops of the tree, the points on the tree, go to the 2-inch mark. Notice here on our instructions it says punch both edges, then score at 2 inches. So it doesn't really matter which side you do, but you do need to score at 2 inches, just one side, okay? When you score, be careful that you don't push too hard. If you're scoring designer paper, you don't need to push super, super hard. You just need to have a little bit of a dent there. If you push too hard, you will cut the paper with your scoring blade, and you don't need to do that. We don't really want to do that in this instance. All right, so we're going to, again, take our second sheet. We're going to put the tops of the trees at 2 inches, close, and score. Okay? If you are scoring cardstock, you do have to push harder, but you still want to be careful how hard you push, because you can still cut your cardstock with your scoring blade if you're pushing too hard. I changed my blades back out right away, and the reason is because I've learned from experience that I forget that I've got the scoring blade in there, or I forget that I've got a decorative blade in there, and then I cut things wrong, or I just, you know, have to find a new way of designing. I design things unexpectedly. I don't know. You guys know I sometimes have to roll with what I do because I do things without thinking. This is called a bone folder. You get one of these, or we sell them, but if you already have one, another kind, then that's totally fine. Use that. I'm just going to use it to put a really quick, nice, clean crease in my paper. Okay, so we're going to crease that. We're going to crease this one. And because we scored it, it's really easy. The paper will just fold right on that scored line. All right, so you can tell which one I did, which direction, because I've got one that is a little bit adjusted to the side and one that is spot on exactly the same as the one on top. Okay, so now what I'm going to suggest that you do, and this is going to defer from our instructions just a little bit, but the reason is because I just find it easier. Take your repositionable adhesive and run some repositionable adhesive across the cut portion of the folded piece, and go ahead and adhere that down. Okay. Then we're going to do the same thing for this one. Just a little bit of adhesive across the punched area. You'll notice it doesn't stick to my mat. Love my repositionable adhesive. If you do ever get any stuck to your mat, it just rubs right off, which is fantastic. Okay, now we're going to take each of these two pieces and we're going to cut them in half. Okay, so that means we need 2 6-inch wide pieces. And you can measure each individually or you can stack them. I'm going to do mine individually since I have that fold in there just to make sure that they're a little more accurate. Okay. So 1 and 2. And 3 and 4. And those are good to go. All right, now we're going to go ahead and proceed with our next cutting, our next designer paper to cut, which is going to be the wood grain paper, this paper right here. We're going to make 4 strips that are 1 1/4 inches wide. 1 1/4 we can measure on the right hand side, remember, because this goes to 1 3/4. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to measure on the right hand side of my trimmer so that the balance of my paper has this shoulder to keep it straight, nice and straight. Okay, we can use the grid lines as well, but it's just a little bit easier, a little bit faster if you have a bumper to put your straight edge paper up onto. Okay, so we've got 1 1/4, there's 1. 1 1/4, there's 2. 1 1/4, and here's 3. And 1 1/4, and here is 4. Okay, I'm going to take these 4 pieces and I'm going to stack them, and I'm going to make sure that they are exactly stacked because we want to cut these right in half. I need 4, I beg your pardon, I need 8 1 1/4 by 6 inch strips. So now I've got them all 1 1/4. Now I need to line them up with my 6 inch tab that I made out here, and we're going to just cut them all at once, and I have my 8 1 1/4 by 6 inch strips. All right, setting those aside. Now I need another piece that is going to be 5 inches wide. So I'm going to measure over here at 5 inches. And this piece is going to be extra, so I'm going to just set that aside to use another time. I'm going to take my wood piece that is 5 inches and I'm going to turn it and cut it at 4 1/4. So 4 1/4 inches over here on the left. We're making a couple of mats, so I'm going to set that up here. I'm making another mat at 4 1/4. All right. Then I'm going to take this piece that's left, turn it again so it's horizontal, and we're going to, you'll notice that this piece, if you put it right to the cutting edge, is 3 1/2, and we're going to turn it and cut it at 2 1/2. Okay, so 2 1/2, and we have 2 more mats that can go right there. Then I'm going to grab the greenish paper with the plus signs on it. We're going to make a few more mats and a few pieces that are going to be used along our side edges. Okay, so first we're going to cut, let's see, we're going to cut 2 pieces that are 3 1/2 inches wide. So we're going to come over here to 3 1/2. 3 1/2. And 3 1/2. All right, then I'm going to stack those 2 and we're going to cut them in half to make them 6 inches long. So we'll have 4 pieces that are 3 1/2 by 6. All right, so there we have those. Then we're going to take this remaining piece, which if you put it to the cutting line, edge to edge, is 5 inches wide this way. Now we're going to trim that into 4 pieces that are each 3 inches. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to cut it right in half. So I'm going to put it to my 6 inch mark here. Then I'm going to stack these 2 pieces. Then I'm going to put it to the 3 inch mark here with those pieces exactly on top of each other. And now we've got our 4 pieces that are 5 by 3. Okay? All right, that's everything that we need to cut. Now we can throw it together. So let's grab our base sheets and we'll get this assembled. So I'm going to move my cutting guide to the bottom again, and we're going to put this together. This is going to be fun. All right, so I'm going to do 1 page at a time so you can see how I'm going to do this. Ours is going to look a little bit different than the sample that they put together here. It looks to me like they may have used designer paper as their base instead of white cardstock, which is totally fine. Or they may have put, I'm not sure, but they've got, oh no, just disregard what I was saying. That's not what they did. They've there is a piece that goes here underneath the top picture and underneath the bottom picture. So it'll all come together, you're going to see. So we're going to take our 1 1/4 inch strips that have the wood on them, okay? And we are going to, let me just double check something here. Okay. So we're going to flip one of them over, and it's going to go on the inside, and the wood is going to go on the outside. And we're going to do the same thing on the facing page. Okay, so this is going to get flipped over and be up here. This is going to be over here, like so. Okay, now if you are concerned because the design on this paper is sideways, don't worry about it. I'm not going to worry about it. It's going to be covered with enough photos and, you know, stickers and other things that I don't think that we'll even notice. But if you are concerned, then hopefully you're watching this first and you can go back and be more careful about the way that you trim the second designer paper, because it would need to, you would need to make sure that it is directional and that you are cutting horizontally on that one. Okay, I did not catch that, so I apologize. Hopefully that's not going to ruin anybody's day. Okay, so let's go ahead and get these put down. And I'm just going to do adhesive in the corners and adhesive in the middle of my strip. Uh-oh, I put adhesive on. All right, here we go. I flipped it. Did you see? I automatically did it, and you were probably yelling, "No, don't do it." And I did it anyway. You guys are so good. All right. So here. Sometimes that's what happens, because I get to talking and I get so absorbed in what I'm trying to say that I'm not paying attention. So I do try to limit that, but occasionally it still nabs me. All right, so we're going to just adhere those just like that. We're going to do the same thing at the top, only we're going to reverse that. So it'll be the top edge. And I think I'm going to move the cardstock that I have for the other side of the paper, or the other side of the layout. Put it over there right now while I'm working on this side. Just because I know it's going to bug me that I keep bumping it. All right, now just on the part that has the wood, we're going to take each one of these halves that we created, that we punched, folded, and created, and we're going to add them on. So they're going to go like, oh, wait a minute, nope, hold the phone. First, we need to take this piece, nope, not that piece, this piece. This is the 6-inch piece. This is going to get added. See, I haven't done this one before, and here I am doing a video for you. Sometimes I'm okay with figuring it out on the fly after just taking a look at it a little bit. Other times I probably should read through it just a little bit more. Okay, so I just put put that on there edge to edge with the wood paper at the top. Now I'm going to use my repositionable adhesive and run it across my punched area and use my permanent adhesive on the not punched area. And I'm going to place this so that the base edge of my my folded edge is right at the base of my green plus paper. Does that make sense? All right, and then it will put my punched area right where it needs to be. All right. Now the bottom part is going to be a little bit more tricky. We're going to adhere this to our starry piece first. And you could do it this way with the other one as well if you wanted to. Now that we know that that's how this goes together, so you're just going to put the folded edge right along the cut edge at the bottom. Make sure it's nice and straight before you stick it down. Okay, pat down that repositionable adhesive. Then we're going to just add some adhesive to the back to adhere the whole thing down right on top of the wood paper to the base in that left-hand column. Okay, there we go, just like that. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and assemble the right side of the layout before we do mats and things like that. So I'll speed up the video so that you don't have to watch that whole thing, okay? Alright, so these are our two sides, and I know you can't see both of them. Let's see. There we go. Now they're both in the picture. And I'm just going to put this on top so we can see, again, the sketch that we're working from. And I'm going to grab these mats that we're going to use. Alright, so you'll notice that these mats, the ones that are 5 by 3, are used in each of these areas to overlap the border on the bottom and the top. Okay, these go, all 4 of them go just like that. And then these larger pieces, the larger mats that are designed for the 4 3/4 by 4 inch photos, are going to go in the center right here. Okay, so those are going to go in there just like that. And then these 2 smaller ones are designed to go right here on either side. Okay, and we're going to make some embellishments that go with them. And because this is kind of this is how I would not expect to want to put more photos on this page than what this project recipe already outlines. I'm going to go ahead and permanently put down these mats. Although if you watch my channel, you know I don't normally do this, but I am going to do it this time around just because I want to make sure they all stick around and I don't have any issues losing a mat or anything like that, because I am going to use this for my daughter's album. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly put this in the center. You notice I'm lining up my paper, my 12 by 12 on the grid on my desk so that I can center this the best I can. And I'm not letting my eye fool me, okay? So sometimes getting that center block put on there can be a little tricky. And if you really want to make sure that it's right in the middle, you need, if you need just a little bit of help, you can use your zero centering ruler, or you can use your grid on your mat that you're working on. Use your tools. Use what you've got to help you instead of just guessing. Okay, I'm adding these outside top and bottom mats in, and this one I'm just going to put on with temporary adhesive just in case for some reason I decide I'm not excited about it, or I don't have a photo that will fit. Okay, so now that I have one side done, it's easier to do the second side, you know that. I'm going to take and add adhesive to this. I'm going to make sure my pages are lined up with each other, just like that. And then I'm going to line up my center piece with the centerpiece on this page. And I don't really need to worry about it as much with the top and the bottom, because I can guess that 1/4 inch a little bit easier. A little bit of repositional on the back of this one. And I'm just allowing a little bit of a border. So a little border right here, about 1/8 of an inch. Same amount here between the bottom of that mat and the top of this colored section down here at the bottom. That way it all looks uniform. Okay? All right, so now what we need to do before we are done is we need to do some embellishing. You'll notice they've got a cluster of embellishments here, they've got a cluster of embellishments here, and a journal box below it. They've got a tiny little word box down here as a third embellishment, and then they've also got our 12-inch stickers, excuse me, on the edge of this border coming down this, coming down that way. The project recipe actually called for, remember, these 1/2-inch strips, which are the first thing that we cut. And so you could go ahead and put that 1/2-inch strip on the edge there and adjust your mats over just a little bit, just a skosh. You could put that right over the seam and cover it up. You could flip it over and put the pink side, the sort of blush side up. Or we can use a 12-inch sticker, or we can use 12-inch stickers and this piece right here. So there's lots of different ways that you can do it. We could not put this mat right here and move this border over just a little bit so that it's half on, so it's right on top of the seam, half on top of this part and half on top of this part. We could, I'm kind of leaning towards that at this point. Let me try it with the pink side up on this side and see what I think. I think I kind of like the map side better. In fact, if I were to do this layout again, I think I would crease this and I would fold it the opposite direction so that this back piece was pink and this front piece was the map. I think you'd be able to see it a little bit better and it would be a little bit more easy to enjoy. But, you know, hindsight, can't really fix it now. That's okay. Next time I will know better. All right, so I'm going to leave the map side out, I think. We're going to go ahead and put that on there. And then I might, since we've got our wood on here, we could go ahead and add these wood stickers going up each side. That'd be cute. I think that would actually work really well. Since we can't really see the pattern on this little bitty strip anyway. So if the collection you're using, if you're using this collection, then go ahead and decide how you'd like to do it. If you're using a different collection, maybe you just have a 12-inch sticker you want to put, and you want to bypass and not have this half-inch strip there. Totally up to you. Just kind of weigh your options and decide what you like best. Okay? All right. It can sometimes be difficult to make these go straight when you're adding a half-inch strip and you don't have something right up against the edge of it. Does that make sense? All right, so this is going to go in the same spot. I'm just moving it over. So not exactly the same spot, sorry. But roughly the same spot, just moving it over just a skosh. Same thing with this one. Same even border around it. We're going to take this long wooden sticker, all the sticks, and we're going to just run that right up that 12-inch piece, 12 by ½ inch. So it just gives it just a little bit of background. But since we can't really see what that 12-inch piece is trying to show us anyways, I think that helps it. Kind of helps tie in both sections together since we used the wood paper. All right, so just like that. And now we need to jump back over here and decide on some embellishments. I like the squirrel and I like the arrow and the mug. I could use trailblazer. I wish I knew exactly which kind of cabin the kids are going to be staying in, but I don't. So I'm not even sure whether they're staying in tents this time or whether they're staying in cabins. I think my daughter said cabins, which would mean Camper, sweet camper. Flamingo. Scouting. That's a fun one. Field notes. We've got a couple of these that say field notes we could use for our journaling. Different colors, which is nice. All right, let's see. Camping. There's another arrow. Wilderness Society. Cabin camping is my kind of camping, so we might need to use that one. The Raccoon Camping Club. Well, we'll have to wait and see if she needs that one after she gets back. Wait and see if they had to deal with any of those little guys. Okay, we got first aid. We've got another tent. Some binoculars, which would be cool. Another arrow. Adventure Buddies, Junior Ranger. Here's a cute frame, which you could use for a photo. We've got RVs. We've got trees. I've got a trailer. So any kind, just about any kind of camping. There's a coffee maker. We don't drink coffee, so that wouldn't help me much at all. But if you wanted to, you could use that for an extra photo and just remove this, remove that mat and stick a photo right there. I think that would be super cute. And then we've got one more that just has a trail. Okay, so, and then we've got our stickers, which we briefly talked about before, but aren't they cute? Look at the tents and the critters and more arrows, a canteen, some leaves, fire. Very cute. And we've got at the cabin, think outside, what a view, nature walk, getaway, weekend getaway, tent life, s'more addict, girls camp, I'm sure they'll be eating s'mores, take a hike, nature walk, tree hugger, wild child, listening to the crickets. Cool. Okay. So not knowing exactly what she's going to be doing up there, I think we're going to not do the tent. I think we will do, I'm liking this A-frame. I like this cabin camping is my kind of camping. I think we'll save the Trailblazer and find out what kind of a trip this ends up being. We could still do Wilderness Society, I think, probably. And I like how that color, the color of that blends with everything. We've got a camera, which we could put with one of these. I really like this, but I think I might just forgo that just because we've got a lot going on here already. We could do the camera. We could do Life is Better at the Campground. What was the one I wanted to use of the sticker? At the cabin. I'm going to use at the cabin with the cabin. And we could use some of these, or we could use some trees. Let's put these trees with that, and that with that. I'm going to save the camper sweet camper for when she's staying in a camper sometime, because we know she's not going to be using a camper. But we could use the arrow since we're using pink on here. We could use that. And really I only need 2 clusters, because remember how we said we have a cluster here, we have a cluster here, and we have basically a word cluster down here with just a little bit added to it. So what if we used Life is Better at the Campground with they used feathers, which the feathers are cool. That's kind of something new and different we haven't had before. I think I'm going to do like this. I'm going to add that together. So we're going to put a little repositionable on the edge there and add that arrow so that we can put that right on the edge of grabbing foam squares. All right, I feel like I'm speaking in fragments today, and I'm sorry about that. I need to probably work on completing my thought. Ooh, my tummy's making noises. Time for lunch. Okay. Okay, so you'll notice I'm just putting my foam squares across the bottom. I'm using the small ones. And going to adhere this just underneath the photo where the photo is going to go. That way I can slide the photo in and not have my foam squares detract from it. I am going to add a foam square to underneath the tip of the arrow, but I'm not going to take off the opposing side so that it doesn't stick should my photo need to go there. Okay, so we've got that one. Let's put together the one with the sticker here. And let's see. I think I want it to go behind. So something like this. It almost looks like the moon, even though it's supposed to be wood. So, kind of funny. And I'm going to just add a little bit of repositionable on those trees, and we're going to set the trees right in front right here. Okay, so just like that. Then I'm going to turn that over and add some foam squares. Since this is a sticker and I don't want it to stick to my page, I am going to actually add a few extra foam squares to help keep the sticker up. Some people dust their stickers. That gets kind of messy, and I don't want to do that right now, so I'm not going to worry about it. But it does help keep your sticker from sticking to your layout. So definitely could do that if you would like to. You just use a little cornstarch or baby powder and a little wire brush. Doesn't take much, just enough to dust the back. Or sometimes I'll take my sticker, stick it to my leg, and get a little fuzz off my pants, and that helps as well. Alright, so we're going to put this down right here. There's one of our clusters. And then we're going to add this other cluster to the other side. Let's see. Like that. Actually, I think I want the trees behind that. So I'm going to add some adhesive there. I'm just going to rub this off just because I don't want it to interfere with anything. These trees are going to go kind of behind. Alright, and this one is going to go just up and to the left, or to the right, sorry. Up and to the right. So we're going to add some foam squares to that one. And I don't have any stickers to worry about with this one, but I don't want it to sag, so I'm going to just add a little foam square up there on top. All right. So that one's going to go more like there. What do we think? So I didn't end up adding a field note, but that would be a cute thing to do. Then we could journal on that instead of just writing on the page there. Of course, writing on the page will also work. But if I was to add a field note to that layout, probably I would want to add a color that we've been using. So we could use green or this kind of tan color and just kind of stick that in right there. We could use this one, actually would probably go better even because it kind of matches the other tones. In fact, I like that, so I'm going to go ahead and just adhere that in there. So we've got a spot for journaling. So just tucking that under, because we popped that up with foam squares, we're able to just slide that right under and we're good to go. All right, and there we have the setup camp project recipe. What do you think? Do you like it? I think it grows on you. Again, pink is not what I associate with camp, but this will work great for my daughter and her girls' camp this summer. So, you know, there is a place for it. Even though it's not typically what I would call a wilderness color, you know, it works. And I really like the folding of the paper here with the punch. I really think that's a cool technique, and with a different punch even, I think it would be really fun to try. I may try it in one of my current album projects that you're seeing other videos on, maybe with a different punch. So watch for that. You might see that in coming weeks. All right, thanks so much for joining me, and until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments. Have a great day.